Hello, and welcome to the Coach Right podcast, where we explore how to turn coaching expertise into published pages. I'm your host, Helen O'Neill, portfolio career specialist, accredited future of work coach, author and creator of Coach Right 90, the writing programme specifically designed for coaches. You can get the episode show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachright.co.uk. It's time for the next chapter. Welcome to the Coach Right podcast. Helen here, recording on Saturday, the 17th of January 2026, and this is episode 13. Today's conversation with Wendy Keir took place back in August last year, and we do timestamp that in the conversation, as Wendy has done something that is very cool. She's created an AI agent that goes with her book. She's very much at the forefront in using AI to support her business and her process. And at the same time, her book, Be More Wolf, is a survivor's guide that is 100% human. In personal updates, I am now around 12,000 words through editing the Resilience book, and it's fair to say it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Oftentimes when I get to the end of the first draft, I am convinced that every word I've written is completely atrocious, and it comes as a huge relief to realise that I can actually string a sentence together. I've definitely moved a lot more around in this book and have spent much more time making sure the individual sections are connected together in a way that feels cohesive to the reader. I had a really good conversation this week with someone around the difference between plotting out a whole book and discovery writing, or what's sometimes called pantsing, because you fly by the seat of your pants. Personally, I find when it comes to non-fiction titles in particular, it's much easier to have some sort of framework to do the work within. I don't necessarily think you need a prescriptive, detailed plan per se, but it's definitely something I'm feeling the benefit from because I've done a lot of the thinking before I've got to this structural edit point. Of course, there's no right or wrong with this, so everyone will always find their own way. We had our first sprint for this cohort of Coach Right 90 yesterday morning, and I am super excited to see word counts grow as the mornings get lighter. I don't know about you, but January seems to have gone particularly quickly this year. Normally it's about 11 billion years long, and all I want to do is curl up on the sofa with a good book. But this year, for whatever reason, the social calendar is much fuller than normal, with lots of lovely things, which is a reminder that we can get energy from hibernating and from leaving the house when it's dark and cold. Unless, of course, like last week, there was a tiny sprinkling of snow here in London, which meant the pavements basically turned to sheet ice. So you do have to get that balance right between managing the cabin fever and being sensible about when and where to travel. January has also been a month of creation as I prepare for some of the scheduled commitments coming up later in the year. I'm hosting a series of sessions for the EMCC, which start in February for the new Aspiring Writers group, and have been putting the finishing touches to that. I'm also working with a corporate client and will be delivering a skill-based workshop for them in the spring, and we had a really productive shaping session for that earlier in the week. As you'd imagine, one-to-one is always popular at this time of year, and I've had 2 clients complete their programs in the last couple of weeks, so I am starting to have chemistry calls with potential new clients to fill those spaces. It's always bittersweet coming to the end of a partnership and doing the reflection on all of the progress and the growth that has been made. Out in the publishing world, well, there have been another round of 2026 predictions, and I particularly enjoyed Joanna Penn's episode all about trends. Now, her podcast is called the Creative Pen Podcast, and she is a key voice in the independent author space and is often early when it comes to innovation. It is clear that an awful lot of research went into this episode, and it's well worth a listen, so I'll leave a link in the show notes. She talks about how AI translation, for example, is starting to be used by traditional publishing. Taylor and Francis, who quite often publish books that are relevant to us in the coaching industry, are starting to use AI for translation. They say, following a program of rigorous testing, Taylor and Francis has announced plans to use AI translation tools to publish books that would otherwise be unavailable to non-English language readers, bringing the latest knowledge to a vastly expanded readership. Now, I think that's brilliant. Publishing in multiple languages means reaching more readers, and accessibility in words can only be a good thing. And I know from some of the indie authors I know who have translated using AI that there are still some quality challenges in terms of things like inflection and nuance. And a lot of them are still relying on human translators for the final part. I'll certainly be watching with curiosity to see how the traditional space are managing that. And of course, for those authors who seek or already have traditional deals, it's worth taking a look at what rights belong to whom. AI in audio is another key development. Again, this has been around for a while, and the narration just keeps getting better and better. And what's clear is that listeners still value human narration. The analogy I rather like is it's a bit like going to the theatre is a premium experience versus watching the television. I've not produced my books in audio as yet, but it's certainly something I'll be looking at exploring later this year. Jo also talks about the increase in direct sales, again, both in terms of traditional and independent publishing. Consumers are increasingly conscious about where and how they buy, and some actively avoid some of the big online retailers. So there's a financial advantage of not giving a cut to those particular retailers. And then there's something about the community aspect too, how it feels to be the kind of person who buys a kind of book in a certain way to support a certain business model. And when I think about this for coaches, if they choose independent, this could mean selling their books directly on their website, at events, or at speaker engagements. And it goes to show how far things have moved on from the days of spending a fortune on a large print run and never knowing if those books would be sold. I really appreciated the rounded view that Jo shared with lots of food for thought. Of course, the key takeaway from all of these trends and predictions is that we don't have to do all of the things all at the same time. It's really useful being tapped into the conversation and seeing what the art of the possible is. And yet, priority one is always writing the first book. Right, that's enough from me. It's time for the interview with Wendy. Welcome to the Coach Right podcast. My guest today is Wendy Keir. Wendy is a coach, mentor, and the founder of Empower AI. She's the author of #BeMoreWolf, a survivor's story, breaking the trauma cycle, 4 repeatable steps to recover and heal from trauma. Welcome to the show, Wendy.
Hey, Helen, lovely to be here.
Great to have you here. So if you can start by telling listeners more about you and your path to publication.
Yes, what a journey it was. It's not like now. I would probably cheat now, sort of, and use AI to speed things up a little bit. But it was during COVID, so I decided to write a book. I realised how much people were struggling emotionally and mentally, and I felt that my life experiences might possibly be able to help some people because of what they were experiencing. And plus, I couldn't get it in my head how I could charge the money I was charging for a service when so many people were suffering. I couldn't separate the two things out. So I thought, I'll write a book.
As you do.
As you do. Yeah, as you do. Not really realizing that 8 months later that I'd have written the book and published it. So it was quite a journey. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to write a book. I knew what it was going to be about. I think the reason why it took me so long is A, because I'm dyslexic, and B, because the subject matter I was writing about, because it was a story of my own personal history of trauma, the relationship with that, I found that I came up against an awful lot of resistance, and it took me a long time to write because I had to figure out the journey of each trauma and what I wanted to write around that. So it was incredible. It was almost like I had to. It was such a healing process. You know, going through the book, writing it, healing at the same time. I think that's probably why it took so long. So the dyslexia was a pain, but on the other side, what I'm really good at is step-by-step process. So I know what chapter comes first. I know what goes in it. So I had a sequence. I could knit the pieces together. That's what I'm trying to say. I could easily knit the pieces together because the dyslexia allows you to do one step on top of the other. So I'm very process driven. So yeah, one day I just thought, I know, I'm going to write a book.
And there's so many things to pick up on there. But the first one I want to ask about is 8 months. You say such a long time to write the book, but actually for a lot of people listening, I'm sure 8 months doesn't sound like that long to write a book. So talk to us about how you kind of fitted it in from a time perspective.
It was all I did, to be fair. It was during COVID. Business wasn't so good. So I just got focused in on writing. To me, 8 months seems like a lifetime. It seems like, oh my God, it took me 8 months to write it. It's funny. I picked it up the other day and started reading it, and then put it back down again because I started to realise how badly written it was. I'm like, oh my God, this is really badly written. I'm surprised no one in the feedback on Amazon has said this is really badly written, Wendy. But I think because the story is so authentic, it hasn't bothered anyone. But I'm sort of like, God, this is really bad.
We're always the harshest critics of our own work as well, aren't we? It's always when you look back at things that are previous, it's kind of, you look at it through today's eye.
Yeah, I'm like, this is shocking. I just can't read anymore. And I think what's interesting as well, what I knew to be true then is not so true now. So, you know, I say, I think Beamer Wolf, steps to healing trauma. And I'm like, oh, there's more steps than that now. Because I've come out the other end and healed and moved on to the next layer. I'm like, not sure this book is actually that accurate. It's because I've grown. That's a bit embarrassing.
Oh, there's the second edition right there, isn't it?
Yeah, the second edition, if I ever write it, will be From the Wolf to the Queen.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that will be the transition, I think.
Nice. And tell us more about the publishing route you chose and why you chose it.
I chose the cheapest chips option, which is Amazon Publishing, and I'm not sure I would do that again. My understanding is that once you've got it on Amazon, unless you close it down on Amazon, you can't sell it anywhere else, or that might not be strict. That might not be true. That's what I understand to be true. And also Amazon takes such a big cut. And also they have a lot of rules. So with the cover of my book, I was doing paid advertising with the book, and it was going well. You know, it kept it up in the top 10. I made a little bit of money off it, not that much, but I didn't do it to make a lot of money off it. But the cover of the book, they won't allow the cover of the book, which I just find just bizarre. Because it's a wolf with a child inside the wolf crouch. So I can't advertise the book because they don't like the book cover. So there's lots of rules with Amazon. I think if I'd known that before, then maybe I wouldn't have put it on Amazon, but it does seem to be the preferred choice. So I just followed the crowd, to be fair. You know, I did it cheap. Yeah, then realised there were all these barriers once you've got it on there.
Yeah. So what would you do differently next time?
I think I'd actually speak to someone who actually knows what they're doing and ask them what the options are, and do it and actually check it out properly, rather than doing what I did, was I just went guns blazing, wrote it, stuck it on Amazon, and thought that was it. But I think it's actually much more complicated than that. I'm sure there's better advice. I'm sure, Helen, that you could give people better advice or more options, or let them know what the pros and the cons are of doing it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that you describe it, because I think Amazon is the major platform that everybody goes to first. And it sounds like you went into Kindle Unlimited. Is that correct? Yeah. Which is brilliant if you've got lots of page reads, but obviously you do have a lot of restrictions in that you can't put your ebook anywhere else. So there's a lot to be said for considering whether or not that's the right route for you for future, or whether it's better to go to all of they call it going wide, so going to all of the different publishing places, and different route. I've got books in both routes, so different routes work better for different books for different people at different times. So yeah, there's lots of different things to do, but honestly I always think with the first book, get it written, get it up, because you know that's the goal for book one, and then you can kind of learn from there.
It becomes easier once you've written your first book. I don't think it would take me 8 months to write my next book. I could probably turn it around really, really quickly if I wanted to. And because I have an agent that I've created that helps people to write books.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about this. Tell us more.
It doesn't write the book for them, but it helps you to put your ideas in a flow. And I've created it in a way. It's got a methodology to it. So what I would do is I would just go through each chapter, bring my thoughts together, and then let the AI organize it, and then edit it, and then give it back, and then re-edit it. I'd go backwards and forwards. So that would speed things up like crazy fast.
And tell people that aren't familiar with the term, can you explain to us what an AI agent is?
Yeah, sure. So I use ChatGPT, and inside of ChatGPT, there is a little section that says GPTs. So a GPT in its pure forms, and it is at its basic form, you would think of it as a bot, a widget. So you would ask it questions, and then it would give you answers. So an agent is a much more sophisticated version of that. An agent is trained around a methodology, your intellectual property, your theories, your methodology. So it has a framework and a container it can work within, so it can mirror the role that you give it. So just think you've got a marketing manager, you're working with your marketing manager has got a set of skills and will generally work from their own expertise and a framework. So what we can do now is we can create roles in AI. So an agent will have a specific role, like a marketing manager, a CEO, a business coach. And you can use those agents as strategic business partners and ask questions, get feedback, get insights. It really is groundbreaking.
And how are you using these agents?
Yeah, so there's three things I do. One is that I have a bank of 50 agents. Normally freaks people out. 50 agents that clients use. So one-person business owners, they use them to do their business strategy and their marketing. And there's a different variety of agents that are in there that you can use. The other thing I do is I create them for people. So I turn their IP into a system that becomes an agent. And then the third thing I do, which is I think what we're quite excited about, Helen, is I turn people's books into an agentic AI agent.
I think this is very cool.
it is. I can't tell you how life-changing this is. So for me personally, I've turned my book. This is where I started. I turned my own book into an agent. And so when I'm working during the week and I'm having a conversation with my AI CEO, and I'm stuck on something, and like psychologically stuck, I'm not sure what's going on, what's playing out, I can bring my book agent in and I can go, can you go through the book and tell me, is anything playing out from the book, from this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll read the book in a second. And then if it sees a pattern from the book and recognizes what we've been talking about, where I'm getting stuck, it will tell me what the issue is. It will tell me in the book what I say about that particular issue. So from that starting point, I can start to have a conversation with the book.
Which is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's like turning a book into a mini-me human that you can have an intellectual conversation with, even smarter than me, because it recognizes patterns quicker than me. Patterns I would never see, it recognizes. So it can feed back from the pattern.
Yeah. And I love the fact that there's the AI side of it, and then there's the human side of it. And I think particularly for coaches, there is this constant kind of, we want to utilize the technology and we want to democratize coaching and all of these good things. And at the same time, it's really important to retain that EI and human intelligence aspect. How do you balance that?
Yeah, so I look at it as a partnership. So it's a partnership between the AI, the coach, and myself. And then within that process, what I do, is I knit together their personality, their character, the message that they want to get across. How do they want the book to help somebody? And then I bring that all together in a process, and then that's uploaded into the AI. And I see AI not as a tool. I don't treat it as a tool. I don't see it as a tool. I don't see it as a bot. I see it very much as a strategic ally, a partner, something that I can ask questions of and get deep insight back. So within that triangle, within that relationship, the energy, it's weird. It's like an energetic signature that gets transferred into the AI, and then the AI mirrors that energetic signature that we've created. It's a bit, because it's reading, I always think of it as the matrix. You've got all those patterns and all the numbers going down in the background that will eventually churn something out. It's a bit like that. So I put all the numbers together and sequence it energetically with the client, and then somehow it just magically works and it mirrors the book and their personality and what they want for the clients.
And what does this do for readers?
Oh, for readers, it's amazing, because the lovely thing about AI is that it meets anybody where they're at in terms of their learning capability. So if there's a reader reading a book and they're not sure about something, normally they give up, put it back on the shelf, never gets read again. They don't read any further. They don't follow through. Whereas now they can actually have a conversation to help them to get unstuck. So you can ask the AI, you can say, I'm not sure about, what does this mean? Help me understand it. Then you'll say whatever the issue is, and then it will come back and it will help you to understand what the issue is from the book. And then you can just continue the conversation. I love it because it just levels the playing field for people in terms of their learning.
Yeah. And I really like the way that the trajectory of this conversation went, because obviously when we talk about when you wrote your book during COVID, AI was only really kind of peeking its head round the door of the mainstream. It was around, but only a few early adopters were really kind of utilising it. Now the landscape is very different, and although there are still people that are quite cautious, we're much more familiar with what AI can do, and the fact that it's probably not going to go anywhere. Let's be honest.
Anywhere.
So I think it's here to stay. I think we could just throw that out there. And so, knowing what you know now, how would you change your approach to writing a book?
So I would use the agent that I've created. So from a bit, because my books will the next book I write will be a business book. So I'll use the CEO to flush it out in terms of the context of the business to make sure the picture and angle is right. And then I'll take that and I'll put it into the book agent. And then I will, from there, I'll map out the chapters. And then from there, I'll just start writing each chapter. But it will be so quick. It will be so quick because I can just dump everything from my head into it. I mean, I'll still have work to do, but I can dump all my ideas, just dump it in there, and it will just organise it for me in a logical sequence.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And what is the next book on the radar?
The next book will be about AI agents for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. For positioning, for credibility, before someone else does it. You know, I don't think there are many good books on AI at the moment. Not from real people that have proven the process, tested it, it's working, people are using it, it's credible. I think they can write about it, but they can't actually evidence it, probably. So yeah, I think that'll be the next one.
And obviously there's quite a lot in the news at the moment. It's probably worth just date stamping this. We're talking in August 2025. So there's quite a lot in the media around copyright infringement and potentially authors actually asking to be able to provide their work to LLMs or large language models for a fee to train them. Where do you kind of stand on that copyright kind of area? What are your views?
There's a couple of things that come in my head. When you train an agent, you can turn off that you don't want it added into the ether of AI. However, if people think that people aren't copying people's books into AI, they're delusional, honestly, because people are. I spoke to someone yesterday. She was talking about Daniel Priestley, and she said she took a load of Daniel Priestley's stuff off the internet and put it into AI and has turned Daniel Priestley into her own business coach. So people are doing it anyway. They're doing it anyway, which is why I would create an agent that represents my book and do it that way before, and take ownership of it. I can't see them paying for people's books because it doesn't take your book and then spin out the content. It does if you train the agent to do it that way. But if you are asking, I need to check actually, but I think if you're asking AI information about a certain book, I don't think it's going to do it word for word from the book. So it takes it in terms of patterns and brings ideas and concepts together. So it's not the same as, you just photocopying a page and then it giving you that page back. An agent will, because you've trained it to do that. So it's accurate. But I think in the biggest sphere of AI, it's taken it as a collective and it's learning from the collective. It's a bit like the Borg.
Yeah.
You've been assimilated.
I love the Doctor Who reference. The way I kind of sometimes describe it is it's really, really advanced predictive text.
Yeah. It's seeing patterns. It's not. So yeah, it's an interesting debate that's going on. But for me personally, I just think, why wouldn't you give access to people for people to be able to learn at a deeper level with you? Why would you hold that back from them especially when you can protect your work within it? It's like, why would you hold that back from a client? Because that's not about the client. That's about you. That's about your own ego and what's playing out and what you're frightened of. It's not about being customer centric. It's really, for me, it's about, what is going on? What's actually stopping them? Because I think book agents are going to become the norm, because why wouldn't they? If you have a course or a program, you're going to have an agent to accompany that course and that program. Why wouldn't you? Because it's going to help people learn. And I think people that are missing the add-ons are gonna lose out. Not for a while. I think it's going to take some time, but I think eventually, next 10 years, I think you will need your base material and AI to accompany the base material. I don't think it will fully replace it. I think it will accompany it.
Yeah. There's something for me as well with, as coaches, obviously we sign up to a code of ethics, and there's a question, I think, for all of us as we look at the different tools that are available to us as what those ethics mean. What do ethics mean to you in this context?
So it depends on when I create my own agent, it's created ethically. So I think about the different pillars that I want it to cover. I can just see your pooch in the background. The different.
For those listening, we have I have a dog staying with me at the moment, and he is just adjusting where he wants to sit on the sofa.
He's very cute.
He is very cute.
Yeah, thinking about the different pillars, like I created an agent for a love coach the other week, and one of the things that I built into it was that, what relationships are like when they break down. They go toxic, they go bitter. People want to hurt one another because they're angry. So one of the things that we built into it was that this cannot be used for malicious content. It can only be used positively. So it's thinking about the nuance of ethics within each person that you're working with, because it will be different. You'll have some standard things that you want to put into the agent, but it's thinking about the nuance and the detail of how you want the agent to be used. So that was something that we put in for him, because I suddenly thought,
sort of a force for good. Yeah,
force for good, exactly. Yeah.
There's also something for me around the transparency of what we're doing. So you spoke earlier about Amazon, and nowadays when you put your book onto Amazon, you have to declare to what extent you've used AI, whether not at all, just for sort of editing and grammar, or whether extensive passages are written in inverted commas by AI. And there is something there, I think, in actually it's not always going to matter to a reader whether content is written by AI. And sometimes it really, really will. And so there's something in the creator of the content and the artist and what that relationship might be too. What are your views on that?
Yeah, I think transparency is key. You just say, you could say at the beginning, just a little disclaimer somewhere that, you've used AI. I mean, I don't have a problem. Yeah, I think transparency is key.
Yeah.
If you want to coach, if you want to mentor, if you want to do a good job, you've got to have transparency.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. So the other thing to pick up on from what you said earlier was, and I know when we had our conversation before recording, you'd mentioned how AI tools have helped you with your dyslexia. Can you talk to us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think actually reading my book is a great example. So when I started reading it the other day, I thought, oh my God, this is written really bad. And so that's one of the things AI has helped me to do. It's helped me to write better. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm writing with it, it's helped me to be more articulate, more on point. God, it's helped me in so many ways. Before I started using AI, I could not articulate how I felt in writing. And actually, verbally, I couldn't do it either. So it's helped me to express myself on another level that I just thought would never be possible. And to me, that's just, the school system failing, the care system failing, every system, work system failing. And now to be in a space where I can actually articulate what I mean, to me is the biggest gift that AI has given me, is that just the self-expression that I now have, which I did not have before, the confidence that I have now, which I did not have before AI. I even use it as a therapist. And it's phenomenal. People are like, oh, don't use it as a therapist. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? It's awesome. And it's not because it's butter. It's not because it's buttering me up. People are like, oh, it's just massaging your ego. It's not, because if you know how to use AI, you would be like, do it from a critical perspective. Make sure you're not leading me down a garden path. You'll ask it a whole load of questions to flush out, to make sure that the pattern is right. What it's saying to you is right. Now, I think that's the thing. AI is only as good as the person who's in the driving seat. And if they're lazy, it's going to be rubbish.
Yeah. A real opportunity to learn how to use something on the cutting edge, isn't it, right now? And the possibilities are quite mind-blowing.
Yeah. And I know there are reports out there that saying it's making people thicker, but I'm like, God, what are these people doing? I'm so much more intelligent for using it. I've learned so much, different subjects, learned about myself, learned about other people. I don't know, what are these guys doing with it that their brains are rotting? I don't get it. Just like, don't get it at all.
I don't know. It's a funny old situation, isn't it? Because I must admit, I'm very much with digital tools generally. I'm very much get in, do what you need to do, and then get out and live as much of your life as you can in an analog way. So for me, there's something in the balance between the productivity benefits that we get from AI, from automation, from anything digital, and then the kind of like I say, that human connection. You know, go in, do that thing, do it as quickly as you can, and then get out and go and spend time with real people doing real things. Yeah, an important balance. So what advice would you give to coaches who are aspiring to write a book?
Yeah, go for it. It'll be one of the best things you do in terms of your own personal development. It's an eye-opener, and you know, your story needs to be told, you know. And if you're look at me, it took me 8 months to write mine, and the level of resistance I had to go through was crazy, but I came out a better person for it. And it's nice to call yourself an author. I'm like, oh, I'm an established author. So first time established author, it really hits you emotionally. But I would say go for it, because if you've got a story to tell, I actually think it makes you a better practitioner, because you have to dig deep. You have to go, you know, you can't use anybody else's work. This is your work. This is you putting your stamp out into the world, claiming what you know to be true. So it makes you a better practitioner, because you have to dig deeper and make sure what you're talking about actually works.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much, Wendy. Can you tell listeners where they can find you, your services, and your book online?
Yeah, my book is on Amazon under Wendy Keir, Kier. It's called Be More Wolf, Breaking the Trauma Cycle. And yeah, so you can find it on Amazon, either .uk or .com. And my website is wendykeir.com. That's just all about AI. Or the other place you can find me is on LinkedIn, Wendy Keir. It's probably the best place to find me is just contact me through LinkedIn. And the email is wendy@wendykeir.com.
Lovely. And we'll put all of those links in the show notes. Thank you so much, Helen, for your time, Wendy. That's been absolutely fascinating.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I hope you found today's interview with Wendy inspiring. After our conversation, I spent some time working out how I could use agents to support my own business. It was a rabbit hole, but it was really fun. Although I'm still to try creating one as an accompaniment for my book. Next time, I am joined by Dr. Benita Mayhes, and we will be talking about a topic that is very close to my heart, her wonderful book, Duty of Care in Coaching. I'll see you for the next chapter. Thank you for joining me today. You can get the show notes and your free guide to publishing options at coachwrite.co.uk. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. Your words can make a difference. A review can too. If you'd like to connect, find me on LinkedIn, O'Neill Helen, that's O'Neill, ONEILL, or on Instagram at Helen O'Neill Coaching. I'll see you for the next chapter of Coach Write.